supplies you need from your stash is 2 pieces of fabric. One you intend to use for the back, so to say. It's reversible, so it'll, you'll be able to do it however you want, but we're just gonna call this the front and the back. And then you also need a piece of flannel. The flannel measures 7 inches by 4.5 inches, and your front and back piece are 9 inches by 7 inches. And then you need 2 pieces of elastic like this. Today I'm using a 1/8 inch, which I think fits behind the ear really well. You could use a 1/4 if that's all you had and didn't have a lot of financial freedom to really go out and get crazy. You just want to use what you have, that could work. But I really like the 1/8 inch. It seems to work around the ear. So you have 7 inches here for your elastic. And then what we're gonna do is take our flannel. The nice thing about flannel and cotton is they stick to each other. So you don't have to even really pin this. You just get all your, if you're just making one, then great, but I keep talking like you're gonna make a whole stack of these. So you just lay it on there and it's not gonna come off, see that? It's gonna be okay. And then you wanna just take it to the machine and stitch here. And I'm gonna just take this top piece with our flannel to the sewing machine. I'm just using a 3.0 stitch length, and just take it nice and easy. It's not a race. And then when I get to the end, I just lift my presser foot and my needle, and I'm just kind of I'm leaving the threads attached. I'm just kind of pulling it out a little farther than it needs to go, and I put it here at the top, and I do it again. No need to back stitch at either end. Okay, so now we have our core attached to what we're going to call our topper fabric. And I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to go ahead and cut all these extra threads off. Just make it nice and neat. That's the key to good sewing and having a project turn out the way you want it to, is just being able to have nice crisp lines and have all your threads out of the way. And then the next part is going to require us to sit at the sewing machine. This is what makes it really nice if you cut out a bunch of your top and backer fabrics and you get this all sewn in, and then because you're basically just going to be sitting out in the machine putting in your 2 pieces of elastic, and it's going to go by really quick. So let's go back to the machine and I'll show you how to do that. You're going to want to take your backer fabric with the pretty side facing up and your topper fabric that has the flannel with the pretty side facing down, and you're going to bring those together and you're just going to line those up as best you can. You can pin for this. In fact, you know what, for this video I will go ahead and throw a few pins in here, just for maybe some of you that are wanting to donate these somewhere, or maybe make them for elderly family, or just whoever you're making this for. If you're a beginner, it's good to have good sewing habits. So for now I'm just going to put those 2 pins in just to hold them. Alright, here on the 9-inch end, you want to leave probably 1 inch to 1.5 inch gap, and that's going to be your start and stop point. Okay, so when you get to your corner here, you want to leave about 3/4 of an inch or 1 inch before the edge. So you don't want to sew all the way to the edge. You want to lift your presser foot with your needle down. Really important you have your needle down. And all you need to do is open up your fabric, like so, underneath the presser foot. Grab one of your elastics, and you're going to place your elastic inside the corner. So now the corner of the elastic meets up with the corner of the fabric. And then you place this topper fabric back down, turn your fabric the way it originally was, and go ahead and sew close, all the way to the edge almost, and give it a back stitch, and then return back to this position. Okay. I forgot to mention that I am using probably 1/4 of an inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch sewing allowance here on the edge. It's just nice. You don't want to get too close to the edge here, and I feel like 1/4 to 3/8 is a good measurement. So now we're in the corner and our needle is down and we've turned the corner, and now we're just going to continue all the way till we get to the next corner. One thing I will mention is that you want to make sure that your elastic is not in the way of your needle over here. Okay, so just pull that out of the way. All right, so same thing. Now we're not putting a new elastic in. We're not putting that second elastic in. Now we're taking the elastic that's attached to our first corner, and we're gonna go ahead. I'm sorry guys, I know my hands are in the way, but I don't have a special tripod to film this in a different way. And then topper fabric again, and then go ahead, give it a back stitch, return to a 1/4 of an inch or 3/8. Let's just say 3/8. I think it's more of a 3/8. Give that a back stitch. Okay, so now underneath here, we can't see it, but now we have our first elastic that's attached. If you guys, I will mention this, if you guys don't get your elastic like perfectly in this corner, that's okay. Don't freak out about it, it's fine. Just get it as close as you can in this corner, as long as, the most important thing, as long as it's backstitch, right? So it's not gonna come out, it's gonna get multiple uses, it's gonna be washed and reused. So just get your elastic in there and just get it backstitched, but if it's not in the corner, it's okay, don't freak out. Okay, so now we're at our third corner. Same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and take this pin out that I put in there, and we're gonna open this up. I'm gonna take our next elastic here. I'm going to put it into that corner. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. The corner is ideal. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, back stitch. Return yourself to a 3/8 salvage edge. Leave your needle down, turn, and then we're going to go all the way to the fourth corner and do it again. Okay, so now we have the elastic sewn into the second side here. So now here's our stitch where we began, and we're just gonna sew all the way here till we leave maybe like an inch, inch and a half. Okay, so now let's move our machine out of the way. Grab our scissors. We're gonna cut the threads. Get those out of the way on our opening here. And then what I'm going to recommend you do is come along and you're just going to trim off the corners. You don't want to hit your stitching. Remember, we did some back stitching there, so it might have went like over into the corner a little bit, but just, you know, work around it. You just don't want a lot of bulk here in the corners. Okay, all the way around. And if you feel like there's any, you know, if there's a lot of salvage here for some reason, you can go ahead and snip that down too. This actually looks pretty good. I'm going to trim this flannel a little bit here on the edge. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Scraps out of the way. All right, so the construction of it is pretty much done, and you guys did amazing. Let's flip it open and see what it looks like. So here's basically what it will look like before we start pleating it. And line your hole up real well. You're going to have that opening here, so just kind of move your fabric around and just kind of get it to where they match up. Okay, so now we're going to iron this, and I'm just going to get a piece of fabric to use as an ironing board. I'm going to lay this out. I'm going to come through, give this a little bit of steam. I wouldn't let this rest on the elastic too long, but you can kind of get in there and you just want to get a nice, all finished edges. The key to good sewing is having things ironed, and then I also ironed this little hole here where we had turned it inside out, or right side out, I should say. Okay, so now here's the thing. We're going to put pleats in this, and you can either kind of fold it this way and iron and then fold it a quarter again and iron and use your lines. However you kind of, you can try this and you can kind of work with it. I'm just going to show you how I do it because I'm usually pretty perfectionist about things. But I've been able to just kind of eye this and it's no big deal. So I'm going to bring the pins over now. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of going about 2.5 inches down, and I'm just using my fingers to kind of hand pleat. And then I just kind of put my head over it and I'm looking at it. It looks pretty good. I throw a pin in here from the side like that, and another pin over here like that. And then I'm gonna do one more, okay? So I'm looking at it, and if I don't like, the length here and the length here, I can always move this. Actually, this is a little bit short now that I'm saying that. Move that up, pin it, okay. And now I'm gonna do it again here. I'm gonna do one more here. I'm just gonna kind of eye it, and I'm just gonna go like that. Nothing to it, right? We're gonna give this a nice iron too, which will iron in those pleats. And then I just kind of put my head over it straight and just kind of look again. It looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and pin it again. Okay, so now I have, so you can kind of see how wide this is here. Now here's the thing about the face mask that I learned. If the pleats are too wide, if you don't have enough of a pleat, like you would think that it's gonna make this not fit well if you get this too thin, if this is instead of being this wide, if it's smaller like this, but in fact, you'll get like a gap on the side of your face. Like when you put the mask on, you put it over your ear, you'll have like a gap. Maybe I can insert a picture here to show you. And you don't want that gap. So it doesn't matter how small or how like intense you make your pleats to make this side smaller, because once you fold it out, it's gonna fold over your nose and your mouth. So it's okay, that doesn't matter. But I found the tighter you have your pleats here, the better it's gonna be for not having a hole there on the side of your face. Okay, so again, let's get our faux ironing board here and our mask. And we're just gonna come in, a little bit of steam. I'm just giving this a nice press. It'll just make it a whole lot easier when we go to sew it. Okay, there we go. And now it's time to sew all the way around the edge, and what we're gonna do is we're just going to find where our hole is, which is right there. And we're gonna start here at our hole. And what we wanna do is make 2 stitches all the way around the mask. And what I mean by that is to make it sturdy so that you can wash it multiple times. You could totally just do one if you wanted. That's fine if you're in a time crunch, or it's just you don't want to have to do a second one. That's totally fine. But I really recommend that you do a double stitch. So you can see here that I've got 1 stitch that goes all the way around towards the outside. And then I also have 1 in there, just maybe 1/4 of an inch. No, not even. It's even smaller than that, like 1/8 of an inch right next to it. So trim our threads here at the beginning. You can even give it a press if you'd like. I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. I know that there's a need for these masks in our country right now, and so making them or donating them or charging a small fee for them, you could help out in some way. I'm sure there's people around you, elderly people, or just people that what could really benefit from this. It's not just to do with, I'm not going to say what the name is because I'm tired of hearing it, but let's just call it the new flu that's floating around. It can not only be used for that, but also for gardening or landscaping, if you're working with concrete, anything really that you would just want to safeguard your family against, just to keep out of your respiratory. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you for the next video sometime. Bye!